From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life. This is 2020 with Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. A near-fatal car crash. The driver had fallen asleep.
Next thing that I can remember is that I was being pulled out from underneath the 18-wheel tractor-trailer truck.
Sleep deprivation. Night after night of too little sleep.
We have busy lives and too many things to do, and we put sleep on the back burner.
Millions suffer. Hugh Downs asks, are you getting your sleep or running on empty?
At about 17 minutes before the hour, if the person next to you has fallen asleep, don't take it personally. You haven't fallen asleep.
Not yet.
You shouldn't take it personally because it could be sleep deprivation. That's a clinical term for what some used to call burning the candle at both ends. But when the candlestick gave way to the light bulb, folks started cheating on their sleep. And today, it's a lifestyle for millions. And the problem is it can have serious, even fatal consequences. So if you're a sleep cheater, go get some sleep, but not for a few more minutes.
Bring it all back on 104.5 WSNI.
I'm so tired.
It's 6:15 a.m. Time for Sue Hand of Norristown, Pennsylvania, to wake up.
So tired. My mind is on the blink.
When I first hear the alarm in the morning, it is kind of a shock to my body. It's just like really agonizing to try to get out of bed sometimes.
No, no, no. I'm so tired. I don't know what to do.
The night before, Sue slept about 6 hours, not enough to feel rested. For Sue, this is a problem. Too often, because of her busy life, she cuts corners on her sleep, and apparently she's not alone. Sleep experts estimate that on any given day, 40% of the population, that means 98 million people, are suffering from sleep deprivation caused simply by trying to squeeze too much into the day. Dr. Joanne Getze is an expert on sleep medicine.
I think that most of us really treat sleep as an expendable commodity. We really do, and we're all guilty of it. Believe me, we're all really bad at it. We have busy lives and too many things to do, and we put sleep on the back burner.
It seems as if the hectic pace of modern life is escalating. More and more people are grappling with 2 career families, longer and longer drives to work, even 2 jobs to make ends meet. And increasingly, we're lured away from sleep by our 24-hour society. For example, years ago, TV stations would sign off at the end of the day. Well, now you can watch all night. You can even go shopping in the middle of the night if you want to. Being on the go is what's valued most. And to fit everything in, what suffers most is sleep.
Wake up, little Susie, wake up.
As a divorced mother of 2 children, David and Amy, and a full-time nurse, Sue's days are demanding from start to finish.
I do feel like I'm always on the go and always doing things.
At work, she keeps a hectic pace as head nurse of the recovery room here at the Medical College of Pennsylvania.
Your operation's all finished.
In the morning, when she's working with patients, Sue says she feels alert because she's always on the move. But in the afternoon, when it's time to do paperwork, Sue sometimes has to struggle to stay awake. As difficult as the afternoons can be for Sue, she says the evenings are often worse.
My kids are probably the ones that get most of the brunt of my irritability and frustrations from my lack of sleep. There's a lot of things that I have to do at home, and when I'm really tired, I really do have to push myself.
Sue is tired so often that she can forget what it's like to feel rested. For her, and the millions like her, running on empty has become a way of life.
Once dinner's over and dishes are done and things, it's homework time and, wash and cleaning and stuff, and paying my bills. It does feel like I have an endless list.
Sue is often doing chores right up until she gets into bed. So to unwind, she'll read a book or join the legions of viewers who are seduced away from slumber by late-night television. On a typical weeknight, Sue sleeps an hour or 2 less than she needs. So by the end of the week, she has built up what the experts call a sleep debt, and she's exhausted.
I don't usually go out or do things on a Friday night because I'm usually so tired and so wiped out that I'm almost afraid to go out with friends sometimes. I'm afraid I'm going to fall asleep at the table or talking to them or whatever.
So many Americans do that. You know, they cheat on their sleep during the week. They go to the gym, they do this, they do that, and then they make up for it on the weekends. What they forget is that it doesn't make up for the fact that there are lapses in their performance during the week.
Don Emery of Troy, New York, learned firsthand the consequences of cheating on his sleep. 2 years ago, he had a near-fatal car crash, and it became one of the estimated 300,000 traffic accidents caused each year by dangerous, sleep-deprived drivers.
The morning of the accident, I got up early and had been on the road for about an hour and a half. The next thing that I can remember is that I was being pulled out from underneath the 18-wheel tractor-trailer truck. I had fallen asleep and gone across 2 lanes of highway, going underneath the back end of the truck.
The collision ripped the roof off Don's car, and Don probably would have been decapitated if he hadn't slumped over in the front seat. Unbelievably, he and the other driver suffered only minor injuries. Don was really fortunate, since it's estimated by the U.S. Department of Transportation that accidents caused by sleepy drivers result in anywhere from 4,000 to 7,000 highway deaths each year. Our busy lives are putting more and more tired drivers on the road, and this is causing growing concern among sleep experts. Now, in Don's case, what caused him to fall asleep so quickly when there were no drugs or alcohol involved, and later tests showed no signs of a sleep disorder?
Although I'd gotten 8 hours of sleep the night before, I really had been getting on the average of 5 to 6 hours in the weeks and the months previous to that.
By cheating on his sleep, Don had built up a massive sleep debt. This debt created the sudden, overwhelming pressure to sleep at the wrong time. And unwittingly, Don became a danger, not only to himself, but to others as well.
I think people don't realize that they accumulate sleep debt. It all caught up with me. In my case, I got out, luckily.
Thinking about Don's luck made me wonder about Sue and others like her who habitually cheat on their sleep. Just how serious is Sue's level of sleep deprivation, and what are the potential consequences? To find out, 2020 asked Dr. Getze and her colleague, Dr. Alan Pack, director of the Center for Sleep Disorders at the University of Pennsylvania, to evaluate Sue.
Okay, everything looks good. I'm going to turn out the lights now.
The evaluation required that she spend nearly 24 hours at the clinic to undergo a battery of tests. These tests, which measured Sue's brain waves, eye movements, heart rhythm, and breathing patterns during her sleep-wake cycle, established that she has no hidden sleep disorder which could be causing her fatigue. But that doesn't mean her sleep problems were insignificant. This test, called the Multiple Sleep Latency Test, or MSLT, made that clear. The test was given during the day.
You'll be given 4 opportunities to take naps. If you fall asleep within 20 minutes, we'll allow you to sleep for 15 minutes.
Here, what the doctors are looking for is how sleep-deprived Sue gets toward the end of a typical week, always her roughest time. This test was done on a Friday. During the MSLT, a well-rested person will fall asleep after 10 minutes or so, if at all. Someone who's seriously sleep-deprived will fall asleep in 5 minutes or less. How do you think you would do?
How's she doing?
She just
She
went
fell
into
asleep. Yeah, she's on stage 1 sleep.
Sue fell asleep during all 4 test periods in 4 minutes on average. According to the doctors, that means she was pathologically sleep-deprived.
And that's going to be associated with some problems. Problems in performance, problems in lapses in concentration, and difficulty with personality changes, irritability, and so on.
With Sue's current lifestyle, she's probably pathologically sleep-deprived a couple of days a week. On those days, the risk of making mistakes, perhaps while driving or even on the job, does increase. In part, that's because of a phenomenon called microsleep. People think they're awake, but their brain has slipped into a sleep-like state.
People call it zoning out or just being unaware of what's going on. They catch themselves. And if you have actually electrodes on their head, you will actually see that they have been asleep for a number of seconds.
On her bad days, this is a real risk for Sue.
So how could we reorganize your life so that you got to bed earlier during the week?
I guess what I could do is just hold off on some of the chores or some of the things I have to do to the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And try to go to bed earlier, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just get yourself to bed a half an hour early, if you're paying bills, stop by 10 o'clock, whatever you're doing, and be ready for bed at 11, 11:30.
Do you think that it would, I would still end up needing to catch up on the weekends?
I would bet that if you gave yourself half an hour or more every night, that you wouldn't need quite as much on the weekend. Each month, or however frequently you can decide to do that, give yourself another half an hour. Even with another hour of sleep, I think you'd feel a lot better.
It sounds like a good start for Sue, but over the long run, she will also have to experiment to find out exactly how much sleep she needs to feel fully rested. Doctors say that varies with each person because there are genetic differences, with most people needing anywhere between 7 and 10 hours a night.
Some people really and truly need 10 hours of sleep, and that is not necessarily pathologic, it's just their natural biorhythm.
How can you tell if you're getting all the sleep you need? Well, surprisingly, if you have to set an alarm clock to get yourself out of bed in the morning, that's a sign you're not getting enough sleep. And if you struggle with daytime sleepiness and you think it's caused by that boring meeting or a heavy lunch or a warm room, sleep experts say you're wrong. If you're well rested, none of those things will make you drowsy. Bored or restless, perhaps, but not drowsy. Drowsiness is usually caused by sleep deprivation. Now, obviously, driving while sleep deprived is one of the most dangerous things you can do, but sometimes it's unavoidable. So what can you do to keep yourself alert at the wheel so you won't be a danger to yourself and others? Do what Don Emery now does. Keep the car cool. A warm car can make you drowsy. Then turn the radio on. Experts say it's best to play a station that upsets you, perhaps one you disagree with politically. That'll keep your mind stimulated. And be especially careful during what the sleep experts call zones of vulnerability. These time periods between midnight and 7 a.m., and surprisingly, in the afternoon between 1 and 4 p.m., are when your body's natural sleep rhythm creates the most pressure to sleep. Don's brush with death has changed his driving habits, but much more important are the changes he has made in his sleep habits.
Now, after the accident, I'm really, I almost keep track of how many hours I've slept and try to be real conscious about getting 8 hours a night.
Sue has also gotten more serious about her need for sleep. In the weeks since she visited the sleep clinic, she has been spending about a half hour more in bed most nights, and she says she's starting to feel better.
I feel pretty committed to try to make this change because of the fact that it really is enough of a problem for me in my life that I want to make a change so that I can enjoy life a little bit more. We'll see if it works.
That's a very tough problem for a lot of people today, but it's not really new, because I wonder how many people watching are aware that you and I were at least somewhat sleep deprived for years when we were doing the Today Show. Do you remember?
Oh, constantly. I mean, I did it for 15 years. You did it almost as long.
I
I remember
9.
being so tired that if someone went like this, I would cry.
Oh, really?
You know? Oh.
Well, I remember
the relief. Not
I was
doing anymore.
wondering when I used to hear the alarm go off at 4:15, and I think, should I phone in my resignation or should I get dressed and go? And of course, by the time I was dressed, I felt all right. But I was lacking sleep.
I think that is the first thing most people give up. And without being prejudiced, I think it's tougher on women because married or single mothers, you know, if they work, they still have to come home. There are still the kids, there's still the shopping, there's still the everything. And I think it's very tough.
And that is 2020 for tonight. We thank you for being with us.
And remember, we're in touch, so you'll be in touch. I'm Barbara Walters.
And I'm Hugh Downs.
And for everyone at 2020, have a good weekend, get some sleep. Good night.
This is 2020.